What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so according to reports, top Democratic officials in Pennsylvania are concerned that Kamala Harris is losing ground in the state of Pennsylvania. Of course, Pennsylvania is one of the pivotal 7 swing states that Trump and Harris have been focusing on in this election. The electorate at large has become very polarized to the point where the number of states that are actually winnable for either candidate, like they're both at play, has dwindled. Like back in like 1960 or so, I say 1960, there were probably something like 40 states that were at play. 40. Now it's down to 7 because of polarization. A Democrat has no chance in hell, a national Democrat at least, has no chance in hell to win the state of Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, generally the Dakotas, the prairie areas. They don't have a chance in hell. A Republican's not going to win a campaign in California. For the most part, in Hawaii, for the most part, at large in New York. Just not going to happen. But anyway, they're concerned that Kamala is not having an effective, her campaign does not have an effective strategy. Like, it doesn't help with Obama, okay, what he just did. That really have sent them into a tailspin. Now, let me say this. I'm not saying that she can't win this election. I'm not even sure if she's going to lose Pennsylvania. But I don't think that it's a lie to say that over the past 2 weeks, if she had a lead, she's squandering it. And part of it is this, in my opinion, this is my opinion. I don't understand this outreach crap that they're doing. Like, oh man, things are bad when Dick Cheney is coming out for Kamala. Karl Rove is coming out for Kamala. Mitt Romney is coming out for Kamala. I think when you start having Republicans come out for you, and we're not talking about rhinos. You know what I'm saying? This ain't like necessarily John McCain, even though I don't think he was a rhino, really. When I say rhino, I mean Republican in name only. We're not talking about people who are fundamentally against the Republican Party now. They don't really align with the current Republican Party. Liberals who just may have some fiscal conservatism and, philosophically Republicans, but they're not really aligned with them anymore. Abortion, other social issues. You got warmongers. We do remember Dick Cheney's the guy who was seen as like this side of Henry Kissinger, the worst foreign policy, even though he wasn't really foreign policy. But you know what I mean? He basically was, especially in Bush's first term, he was seen as basically like the co-president. Dick Cheney was pretty much seen as this side of Henry Kissinger, the worst war criminal in the last 50, 60 years. And now that Kissinger's dead, he's the worst. This is the same guy that was equating with Darth Vader. This is the same guy that shot someone in the face on a hunting trip. And the guy he shot in the face apologized to him. That same Dick Cheney. You want to align yourself with him. You align yourself with all these neocons, right? All these neocons who were the worst people in the world. Remember Keith Olbermann had this show on MSNBC, the worst person in the world. All of a sudden, all these people who were always, every night on deck as the worst people in the world. Now, all of a sudden, they're aligned with Kamala. So what is that saying about Kamala? What is that saying? To me, it sounds like they're saying she is going to be a lock and step, warmongering, if need be, status quo, establishment candidate. Because anybody who's really for you, who's bucking the system, they're not going to be for. That's why they're running this misinformation campaign now against Jill Stein. Or a vote for Jill Stein is a vote for Trump. A vote for Cornel West is a vote for Trump. Who gives a shit? Even though that's not really true, they don't align themselves with Donald Trump. What it is these people are tired of the Democratic Party and their bullshit. So if that means they have to play spoiler and Trump becomes president, well, that's a punishment. That means, look, Jill Stein and Cornel West are running for office not because they promote Trump, but because they represent a constituency or democratic ideals that the party is neglecting to acknowledge, or certain voter demographics or voter constituencies, I should say, who are being ignored and abused by the Democratic Party and misused. And then she, like I said, in line with what I'm talking about, with all these Republicans all of a sudden that are so friendly with her, Mitt Romney. Well, this the same dude that Joe Biden said, he gets elected, he's going to put y'all in chains. Now he's in line with, Kamala, or at least by default, he's in line with Kamala, right? In line with that, right? Why is she outreaching to rural areas of Pennsylvania? I seen the same thing in Georgia. These people are not going to vote for you. They're not. They're not going to vote for you. And then another thing that Kamala's doing that's pissing me off is she's trying to be everything to everybody. You do this interview with Charlemagne the God, and you go out there and you talk about how, when it comes to reparations, well, I'm open to it, or something to that effect, or we're willing to look into that. We got to do more study, which is code for we're not doing shit, because the Democrats been doing study on this shit for 40-something years, or damn near 40 years. They've been doing study and reparation for 40 years. But you can cut the check for Israel, you can cut the check for Ukraine, you can cut the check for Native Americans, you can cut the check for Chinese American, or Japanese American, excuse me, with the internment camps. You can cut the check for, the small hats and what happened to them, which we had nothing to do with, but the American government can cut checks for that. But when it comes to the greatest atrocity of the past 400 years, 500 years, slavery in the United States, you got to do more study on that. So you won't definitively talk about that. You sidestep that crap. But you want us to go hard to paint and support this sister, as you call it, even though her family has a history of being slave owners themselves in Jamaica, right? Even though this woman has no connection to the Black community, grew up in Berkeley, lived in Canada, doesn't have a foundational Black American family. She's not a fundamental Black American herself. And even if she wasn't, she just has no ties at all. And that's a pattern that we see with these tokens in the Democratic Party, the ones they promote. They don't have ties to the Black community. That's why Jesse Jackson only got as far as he did, because they didn't want Jesse Jackson a heartbeat away from the presidency. They wanted Mike Dukakis to pick him in '88. He picked, who was it? Lloyd Bentsen. Then in '92, some people wanted Bill Clinton to pick Jesse Jackson. He wasn't going to pick no Negro. He picked Al Gore. Got to the point where in 1996, Jesse Jackson had to beg for airtime at that convention. Remember, Jesse Jackson was the second highest vote getter in '88. Usually, when you're the second highest vote getter in going into a convention, you have a bright political future. He was alienated by the Democratic Party. Why? Because Jesse Jackson, for all his flaws, was pro FBA. And if you're pro FBA, and if you're not pro majority in this country, you're not going to go far in the Democratic Party at all. So that party ain't Democratic. By the way, the Democratic Party has also pushed numerous lawsuits to keep candidates like Jill Stein, candidates like Cornel West off the ballot in swing states. Why? Because they know that those candidates are going to hurt their candidate, Kamala. But remember, 8 years ago, the left-wing media didn't have any problems pushing Evan McMullin, who was a right-wing, third-party candidate who hurt Trump, even though Trump still won. Now they're pushing this misinformation campaign that Jill Stein is a Trump agent and Jill Stein is only running to hurt Kamala. Jill Stein's run for president for 25 fucking years. What the fuck are you talking about? She's very left of center. If anything, the real reason why Hillary Clinton lost wasn't Jill Stein. It was because of her boneheaded strategy, taking the black vote for granted, thinking the blue wall was impenetrable, and the real vote siphoner wasn't Jill Stein, but it was what's his name? The former governor of New Mexico. Oh, what the hell is his name? Libertarian candidate. Gary, the hell is his name? Gary Johnson. He was the one that really hurt the Democratic Party. But, I don't know how this election is going to go. Pennsylvania has 19 electoral votes, so that's going to be a pivotal state. That was the state that decided the 2020 election, if you recall. That's the state that put Joe Biden over the top in 2020. So it's very pivotal. But, I mean, I don't know how true this is, but look, me personally, I think Trump's probably going to get somewhere around 14% of the black vote, right? That don't sound like much, but that could be the key to either Kamala winning or losing. I think he's going to get about 14%. If he gets over 15% of black votes, she's done. I'm hearing reports about Trump signs scattered all across Philly, especially South Philly. I don't, look, man, I don't buy this about that many black people voting Trump. Don't get me wrong. I think that there are a lot of black people going to vote for Trump, but getting close to 20%, if Trump gets anything like remotely close to 20% of the black vote, she is toast. But we'll see, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, what Barack Obama did last week, bro, that was the last straw with a lot of people. I know that. Like, black men and some black women who see the play, they say, you know what? We're tired of you motherfuckers. So I know a lot of black people aren't going to vote, who may have considered holding their nose and voting for Kamala. A lot of them not going to vote. Or they're going to vote third party. Or maybe some of them might even cross over and vote for Trump. Like, that shit really pissed a lot of people off, man. Because you guys have already been taking us for granted anyway. For then Barack Obama to take his elitist ass, right? Take a little break from yachting over and, somewhere in the Eastern Pacific, hang with all these global elites. Then you take your ass to a community you haven't really even been part of since the 2000s. And then to put your fucking head down and lecture black men about how we need to vote for her just because she's black, which is identity politics to the fullest. Just vote for her because she's black, because You Negroes, ungrateful black women been propping you up and just do what we tell you. Oh man, I tell you. So if look, if it gets to the point where we do see a huge shift in the demographic, and don't get me wrong, people keep talking about black men, but black women are they're the biggest demographic for the Democratic Party, but they don't vote in the same percentage either. Remember what? Wasn't it like what 95% of black women voted for Barack Obama, and like 94% voted for Hillary? But I think last time, I think 91% of black women voted for Joe Biden. So that percentage, although it's still high, it's eroding a little bit too. So if it turns out that it's less than 90% of black women voted for Kamala, then you know it's real. It's a slow decline. But the thing about it is, they are not going to do anything that's going to benefit black people because they know it's political. It's political poison. That's what they see us as. So they're just going to do token crap, play the race card, browbeat people into voting for her. Got people like Joy Reid saying you're gonna look real weird if you don't vote Democratic. That's what they do. But everybody else actually gets something for their vote. They take them seriously. They don't take us seriously. And right now, what they did was they flooded the country with people who they think they can bribe into voting for their candidates. But we'll see what happens. Man, tell me what you guys think.